In this video, I will read to you the second part of the Metallica Wikipedia page as of September 6, 2020. On this video, we will read the history of Metallica from 2009 to the present. Metallica entering the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The unexpected comeback of Jason Newsted. How Metallica is doing during the times of the pandemic and the recently released S&M 2, as well as their legacy and influence. This wiki page has been broken down to 2 videos. You will find a link to video number 1 in the description below.
If you like what you're hear and see, please help our channel grow by subscribing and joining our Patreon. Links in the description. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, Lulu and Beyond Magnetic, 2009 to 2011.
On January 14, 2009, it was announced that Metallica would be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on April 4, 2009, and that former bassist Jason Newsted, who left the band in 2001, would perform with the band at the ceremony. Initially, it was announced that the matter had been discussed and that bassist Trujillo had agreed not to play because he wanted to see the Black Album band. However, during the band's set of Master of Puppets and Enter Sandman, both Trujillo and Newsted were on stage. Ray Burton, father of Cliff Burton, accepted the honor on his behalf. Although he was not to be inducted with them, Metallica invited Dave Mustaine to take part in the induction ceremony. Mustaine declined because of his touring commitments in Europe. Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, and Anthrax performed on the same bill for the first time on June 16, 2010, at Warsaw-Babas Airport, Warsaw, as a part of the Sonosphere Festival series. The show in Sofia, Bulgaria, on June 22, 2010, was broadcast via satellite to cinemas. The bands also played concerts in Bucharest on June 26, 2010, and Istanbul on June 27, 2010. On June 28, 2010, Death Magnetic was certified double platinum by the RIAA. Metallica's World Magnetic Tour ended in Melbourne on November 21, 2010. The band had been touring for over 2 years in support of Death Magnetic. To accompany the final tour dates in Australia and New Zealand, a live, limited edition EP of past performances in Australia called 6 Feet Down Under was released. The EP was followed by 6 Feet Down Under Part 2, which was released on November 12, 2010. Part 2 contains a further 8 songs recorded during the first 2 oceanic legs of the World Magnetic Tour. On November 26, 2010, Metallica released a live EP titled Live at Grimey's, which was recorded in June 2008 at Grimey's record store, just before the band's appearance at Bonnaroo Music Festival that year. In a June 2009 interview with Italy's Rock TV, Ulrich said Metallica was planning to continue touring until August 2010, and that there were no plans for a 10th album. He said he was sure the band would collaborate with producer Rick Rubin again. According to Blabbermouth.net, the band was considering recording its next album in the second half of 2011. In November 2010, during an interview with the Pulse of Radio, Ulrich said Metallica would return to writing in 2011. Ulrich said, "There's a bunch of balls in the air for 2011, but I think the main one is we really want to get back to writing again. We haven't really written since, 06, 07, and we want to get back to kind of just being creative again. Right now we are going to just chill out and then probably start up again in, I'd say, March or April, and start probably putting the creative cap back on and start writing some songs." On November 9, 2010, Metallica announced it would be headlining the Rock in Rio Festival in Rio de Janeiro on September 25, 2011. On December 13, 2010, the band announced it would again play as part of the Big Four during the Sonosphere Festival at Nebworth House, Hertfordshire, on July 8, 2011. It was the first time all of the Big Four members played on the same stage in the UK. On December 17, 2010, another Big Four Sonosphere performance that would take place in France on July 9 was announced. On January 25, 2011, another Big Four performance on April 23, 2011, at the Empire Polo Club in Indio, California, was announced. It was the first time all of the Big Four members played on the same stage in the US. On February 17, 2011, a show in Gelsenkirchen, Germany, on July 2, 2011, was announced. On February 22, a Big Four show in Milan on July 6, 2011, was announced. 110, on March 2, 2011, another Big Four concert, which took place in Gothenburg on July 3, 2011, was announced. The final Big Four concert was in New York City, at Yankee Stadium, on September 14, 2011. In an interview at the April 2011 Big Four concert, Robert Trujillo said Metallica will work with Rick Rubin again as producer for the new album and we're really excited to write some new music. There's no shortage of riffage in Metallica world right now. He added, "The first album with Rick was also the first album for me, so in a lot of ways, you're kind of testing the water. Now that we're comfortable with Rick and his incredible engineer, Greg Fidelman, who worked with Slayer, actually, on this last record, it's my hero, it's a great team. And it's only gonna better, I really believe that. So I'm super excited." In June 2011, Rubin said Metallica had begun writing its new album. On June 15, 2011, Metallica announced that recording sessions with singer-songwriter Lou Reed had concluded. The album, which was titled Lulu, was recorded over several months and comprised 10 songs based on Frank Wedekin's Lulu Plays Earth Spirit and Pandora's Box. The album was released on October 31, 2011. The recording of the album was problematic at times. Lars Ulrich later said Lou Reed challenged him to a street fight. On October 16, 2011, Robert Trujillo confirmed that the band was back in the studio and writing new material. He said, "The writing process for the new Metallica album has begun. We've been in the studio with Rick Rubin, working on a couple of things, and we're going to be recording during the most of next year." Metallica was due to make its first appearance in India at the India Rocks concert, supporting the 2011 Indian Grand Prix. However, the concert was cancelled when the venue was proven to be unsafe. Fans raided the stage during the event and the organizers were later arrested for fraud. Metallica made its Indian debut in Bangalore on October 30, 2011. On November 10, it was announced that Metallica would headline the main stage on Saturday, June 9, 2012, at the Download Festival at Donington Park and that the band would play the Black Album in its entirety. Metallica celebrated its 30th anniversary by playing 4 shows at the Fillmore in San Francisco in December 2011. The shows were exclusive to Met Club members and tickets were charged at $6 each or $19.81 for all 4 nights. The shows consisted of songs from the band's career and featured guest appearances by artists who had either helped or had influenced Metallica. These shows were notable because Lloyd Grant, Dave Mustaine, Jason Newsted, Glenn Danzig, Ozzy Osbourne, Jerry Cantrell, Apocalyptica, members of Diamond Head, and King Diamond joined Metallica on stage for all appropriate songs. In December 2011, Metallica began releasing songs that were written for Death Magnetic but were not included on the album online. On December 13, 2011, the band released Beyond Magnetic, a digital EP release exclusively on iTunes. It was released on CD in January 2012.
Metallica, Through the Never and Hardwired. To Self-Destruct, 2012 to 2018.
On February 7, 2012, Metallica announced that it would start a new music festival called Orion Music Plus More, which took place on June 23 and 24, 2012, in Atlantic City. Metallica also confirmed that it would headline the festival on both days, and would perform 2 of its most critically acclaimed albums in their entirety, the Black Album on one night, and Ride the Lightning on the other. In a July 2012 interview with Canadian radio station 99.3 The Fox, Ulrich said Metallica would not release its new album until at least early 2014. In November 2012, Metallica left Warner Bros. Records and launched an independent record label, Blackened Recordings, which will produce the band's future releases. The band has acquired the rights to all of its studio albums, which will be reissued through the new label. Blackened releases will be licensed through Warner subsidiary Rhino Entertainment in North America and internationally through Universal Music. On September 20, 2012, Metallica announced via its official website that a new DVD containing footage of shows it performed in Quebec in 2009 would be released that December. Fans would get the chance to vote for 2 set lists that would appear on the DVD. The film, titled Quebec Magnetic, was released in the US on December 10, 2012. In an interview with Classic Rock on January 8, 2013, Ulrich said regarding the band's upcoming album, "What we're doing now certainly sounds like a continuation of Death Magnetic." He also said, "I love Rick Rubin. We all love Rick. We're in touch with Rick constantly. We'll see where it goes. It would stun me if the record came out in 2013. Also in 2013, the band starred in a 3D concert film titled, Metallica, Through the Never, which was directed by Antal Nimrod and was released in IMAX theaters on September 27. In an interview dated July 22, 2013, Ulrich told Ultimate Guitar, 2014 will be all about making a new Metallica record. He said the album will most likely be released during 2015. Kirk Hammett and Robert Trujillo later confirmed the band's intention to enter the studio. At the second Orion Music Plus More festival held in Detroit, the band played under the name DeHaan, a reference to actor Dane DeHaan, who starred in Metallica, Through the Never. The band performed its debut album Kill 'Em All in its entirety, celebrating the 30th anniversary of its release. On December 8, 2013, the band played a show called Freeze 'Em All in Antarctica, becoming the first band to play on all 7 continents. The performance was filmed and released as a live album the same month. At the 56th Annual Grammy Awards in January 2014, Metallica performed one with Chinese pianist Long Long. In March 2014, Metallica began a tour called Metallica by Request, in which fans request songs for the band to perform. A new song, titled Lords of Summer, was written for the concerts and released as a first-take demo in June 2014. In June 2014, the band headlined the Glastonbury Festival in an attempt to attract new fans. Ulrich said, "We have one shot, you never know if you'll be invited back." In November 2014, Metallica performed at the closing ceremony of BlizzCon 2014. In January 2015, Metallica announced a Metallica Night with the San Jose Sharks, which featured a contest session with the band and a charity auction benefiting the San Francisco Bay chapter of the Sierra Club, but no performances. They were announced to headline Lollapalooza in March 2015, returning to perform there for the first time in 20 years. On May 2, 2015, Metallica performed their 3rd annual Metallica Day at a tent park. Metallica were also announced to play at X Games for the first time at X Games Austin 2015 in Austin, Texas. On June 14, 2015, Hetfield and Hammett performed the Star-Spangled Banner live via electric guitars prior to Game 5 of the NBA Finals between the Cleveland Cavaliers and Golden State Warriors at Oracle Arena in Oakland, California. In late October, the band unveiled a new website with an introduction from Ulrich containing footage from the studio of the band working on new material. On November 2, Metallica were announced to play the night before Super Bowl 50 at a tent park. Metallica announced they would be opening the US Bank Stadium on August 20, 2016, with Avenged Sevenfold and Volbeat as support. In April 2016, during the week leading up to Record Store Day, for which the band was its ambassador for 2016, Ulrich told Billboard that the band's expanded role within the music industry had played a part in the amount of time that it had taken to write and record the album. "The way we do things now is very different than the way we did things back in the days of Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning. Nowadays we like to do so many different things." Ulrich was also optimistic that production of the album had almost reached its completion. "Unless something radical happens, it would be difficult for me to believe that it won't come out in 2016. On August 18, 2016, the band announced via their website that their 10th studio album, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, would be released worldwide on November 18, 2016, via their independent label, Blackened Recordings. They also unveiled the track listing, album artwork, and released a music video for the album's first single, Hardwired. The album was released as scheduled and debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200. Metallica announced they would be touring the US in summer of 2017 for the Worldwide Tour. The stadium tour also includes Avenged Sevenfold, Volbeat and Gojira as supporting acts. On August 7, 2017, Metallica was invited by the San Francisco Giants again for the 5th annual Metallica Night with Hammett and Hetfield performing the national anthem. In January 2018, the band announced that they would be reissuing the $5.98 EP, Garage Days Revisited on April 13 for Record Store Day, and the 6th annual Metallica Night was also announced a few weeks later, this time in April, with all proceeds going to the All Within My Hands Foundation, which the band created in late 2017. In February 2018, the band announced a second set of North American tour dates, most of which for cities that they had not visited in up to 30 years.
S&M2 an upcoming 11th studio album, 2019 to the present.
In an interview with Australian magazine The Music's official podcast in March 2019, Trujillo said that Metallica had begun jamming on new material for its next studio album. "I'm excited about the next record because I believe it will also be a culmination of the 2 previous records and another journey. There's no shortage of original ideas, that's the beauty of being in this band." He estimated that the album would be released a lot sooner than the previous 2 did. "This time around I think we'll be able to jump on it a lot quicker and jump in the studio and start working. We've all vowed to get this one going sooner than later." In an interview with Australian magazine Mixdown the following month, Hammett said that the band had tentative plans to enter the studio after the conclusion of its worldwide tour. He stated, "We're in our 3rd year since Hardwired. Maybe we can get a bit more focus and go into the studio a bit sooner." After not contributing any writing to Hardwired to Self-Destruct, Hammett said regarding his ideas for the new album, "I have a ton of material. I've overcompensated, so I'm ready to go anytime." In March 2019, Metallica announced that its worldwide tour would continue into Australia and New Zealand in October with Slipknot in support. Later that month, the band announced that it would perform at the grand opening of San Francisco's new Chase Center with the San Francisco Symphony in September to celebrate the 20-year anniversary of S&M. The commemorative shows, titled S&M 2, were screened in over 3,000 theaters worldwide on October 9th. The event featured arrangements from the original S&M concerts as well as new arrangements for songs recorded since then and a cover of the Alexander Masoloff piece Iron Foundry, and were conducted by Edwin Outwater and San Francisco Symphony music director Michael Tilson Thomas. S&M 2 went on to earn $5.5 million at the box office, making it the biggest global rock event cinema release of all time. A second screening was later announced for October 30th as a result. In August 2020, the band announced that they would release the S&M 2 performances as an album, DVD and box set. In July 2019, Metallica announced a set of South American tour dates for April 2020 with Greta Van Fleet in support. In September, ahead of that year's Global Citizen Festival, it was announced that Metallica would perform at the following year's festival in September 2020 alongside artists such as Billie Eilish, Miley Cyrus, and Coldplay, in what would be the final event of Global Poverty Project's year-long Global Goal Live, the Possible Dream campaign. The following day, on September 27th, they announced that Hetfield had re-entered a rehabilitation program and that its Australia/New Zealand tour would be postponed. In a statement by Ulrich, Hammett, and Trujillo, the band spoke of the devastation of the news, saying that Hetfield had been struggling with addiction on and off for many years and that all tickets would be fully refunded. Ulrich later added that Hetfield was in the process of healing himself, and that the band hoped to return to Australia and New Zealand in 2020. The band's other commitments, including a benefit concert in March 2020, were still expected to continue as planned. A further 5 US festival appearances were announced in October. These shows were later postponed or cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic and to support Hetfield's recovery. In March 2020, the band began a series on YouTube and Facebook called Metallica Mondays, where they streamed full archived shows every Monday to relieve boredom while staying home and social distancing amid the pandemic. In May 2020, while in quarantine, Metallica performed a virtual acoustic version of Blackened, titled Blackened 2020, which was later made available for download. In an interview with Mark Benioff in April 2020, Ulrich stated that Metallica could work on its next studio album while in quarantine. Trujillo told the Vinyl Guide in June that the band was excited about cultivating new ideas for its new album. "We communicate every week, which is really great, so we have our connection intact. What we've started doing is basically just really concentrating on our home studios and being creative from our homes and navigating through ideas and building on new ideas. And that's where we're at right now." He also said that the band was working towards eventually entering a studio to record the album.
Style and lyrical themes.
Metallica was influenced by early heavy metal and hard rock bands and artists as Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Kiss, Led Zeppelin, Queen, Ted Nugent, AC/DC, Rush, Aerosmith, Judas Priest, Scorpions, and by new wave of British heavy metal bands. Venom, Motorhead, Saxon, Diamond Head, Blitzkrieg, and Iron Maiden. Early punk rock bands Ramones, Sex Pistols, and the Misfits also influenced Metallica's style, as did post-punk band Killing Joke and hardcore punk acts Discharge and Suicidal Tendencies. The band's early releases contained fast tempos, harmonized leads, and 9-minute instrumental tracks. Steve Huey of AllMusic said Ride the Lightning featured extended, progressive epics, tight, concise groove rockers. Huey said Metallica expanded its compositional technique and range of expression to take on a more aggressive approach in following releases, and lyrics dealt with personal and socially conscious issues. Religious and military leaders, rage, insanity, monsters, and drugs, among other themes, were explored on Master of Puppets. In 1991, Huey said Metallica with new producer Bob Rock simplified and streamlined its music for a more commercial approach to appeal to mainstream audiences. Robert Palmer of Rolling Stone said the band abandoned its aggressive, fast tempos to expand its music and expressive range. The change in direction proved commercially successful. Metallica was the band's first album to peak at #1 on the Billboard 200. Metallica noticed changes to the rock scene created by the grunge movement of the early 1990s. In Load, an album that has been described as having an almost alternative rock approach, the band changed musical direction and focused on non-metal influences. Metallica's new lyrical approach moved away from drugs and monsters, and focused on anger, loss, and retribution. Some fans and critics were not pleased with this change, which included haircuts, the cover art of Load, and headlining the Lollapalooza Festival of 1996. David Fricke of Rolling Stone described the move as goodbye to the moldy stricture and dead-end puritanism of no-frills thrash, and called Load the heaviest record of 1996. With the release of Reload in 1997, the band displayed blues and early hard rock influences, incorporating more rhythm and harmony in song structures. Saint Anger marked another large change in the band's sound. Guitar solos were excluded from the album, leaving a raw and unpolished sound. The band used drop C tuning. Ulrich's snare drum received particular criticism. New York Magazine's Ethan Brown said it reverberates with a thwong. The album's lyrics deal with Hetfield's drug rehabilitation, and include references to the devil, anti-drug themes, claustrophobia, impending doom, and religious hypocrisy. At the advice of producer Rick Rubin, for its ninth studio album Death Magnetic, the band returned to standard tuning and guitar solos. As a return to Metallica's thrash roots, Death Magnetic was a riff-oriented album featuring intense guitar solos and subtle lyrics dealing with suicide and redemption.
Their legacy and influence.
Metallica has become one of the most influential heavy metal bands of all time, and is credited as one of the big four of thrash metal, along with Slayer, Anthrax, and Megadeth. The band has sold more than 125 million records worldwide, including an RIAA-certified 66 million and Nielsen SoundScan reported 58 million in the US, making Metallica one of the most commercially successful bands of all time. The writers of the Rolling Stone Encyclopedia of Rock and Roll said Metallica gave heavy metal a much-needed charge. Stephen Thomas Earlywine and Greg Prato of AllMusic said Metallica expanded the limits of thrash, using speed and volume not for their own sake, but to enhance their intricately structured compositions, and called the band easily the best, most influential heavy metal band of the 80s, responsible for bringing the music back to earth. Jonathan Davis of Korn said he respects Metallica as his favorite band. He said, "I love that they've done things their own way and they've persevered over the years and they're still relevant to this day. I think they're one of the greatest bands ever." Godsmack drummer Shannon Larkin said Metallica has been the biggest influence on the band, stating, "They really changed my life when I was 16 years old. I'd never heard anything that heavy." Vocalist and guitarist Rob Flynn of Machine Head said that when creating the band's 2007 album The Blackening, what we mean is an album that has the power, influence and epic grandeur of that album Master of Puppets, and the staying power, a timeless record like that. Trivium guitarists Corey Bewley and Matt Hafey said that when they heard Metallica they wanted to start playing guitar. M. Shadows of Avenged Sevenfold said touring with Metallica was the band's career highlight, and said, "Selling tons of records and playing huge shows will never compare to meeting your idols Metallica." God Forbid guitarist Doc and Dallas Coyle were inspired by Metallica as they grew up, and the band's bassist John Alcott admires Burton as a rocker. Il Nino drummer Dave Chavarri said he finds early Metallica releases are heavy, raw, rebellious. It said, "Fuck you," and Edema drummer Chris Cole said the band is influenced by Metallica. On April 4, 2009, Metallica were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They entered the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame the second year they were eligible and first year they were nominated. Metallica's induction into the hall included its current lineup, James Hetfield, Kirk Hammett, Robert Trujillo, and Lars Ulrich, and former members Jason Newsted and Cliff Burton. MTV ranked Metallica the third greatest heavy metal band in history. Metallica was ranked 42nd on VH1's 100 Greatest Artists of All Time, was listed 5th on VH1's 100 Greatest Artists of Hard Rock, and the band was number 1 on VH1's 20 Greatest Metal Bands list. Rolling Stone placed the band 61st on its list of the 100 Greatest Artists of All Time. Its albums Master of Puppets and Metallica were ranked at numbers 167 and 252 respectively on the magazine's list of the 500 Greatest Albums of All Time. Master of Puppets was named in Q Magazine's 50 Heaviest Albums of All Time, and was ranked number 1 on IGN's Top 25 Metal Albums, and number 1 on MetalRules.com's Top 100 Heavy Metal Albums list. Enter Sandman was ranked number 399 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time. Kerrang released a tribute album titled Master of Puppets, remastered with the April 8, 2006, edition of the magazine to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Master of Puppets. The album featured cover versions of Metallica songs by Machine Head, Bullet for My Valentine, Chimera, Mastodon, Nendi, and Trivium, all of which are influenced by Metallica. At least 15 Metallica tribute albums have been released. On September 10, 2006, Metallica guest starred on The Simpsons' 18th season premiere, The Mook, the Chef, the Wife and Her Homer. Hammett's and Hetfield's voices were used in 3 episodes of the animated television series Metalocalypse. Finnish cello metal band Apocalyptica released a tribute album titled Plays Metallica by 4 Cellos, which features 8 Metallica songs played on cellos. A parody band named Metallica plays music using a combination of the Beatles and Metallica songs. Metallica faced legal troubles when Sony, which owns the Beatles catalog, issued a cease and desist order, claiming substantial and irreparable injury and ordering the group to pay damages. Ulrich, a fan of Metallica, asked Metallica's lawyer Peter Paterno to help settle the case. On March 7, 1999, Metallica was inducted into the San Francisco Walk of Fame. The mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown, proclaimed the day official Metallica Day. The band was awarded the MTV Icon Award in 2003, and a concert paying tribute to the band with artists performing its songs was held. Performances included Sum 41 and a medley of For Whom the Bell Tolls, Enter Sandman, and Master of Puppets. Stained covered Nothing Else Matters, Avril Lavigne played Fuel, hip-hop artist Snoop Dogg performed Sad But True, Korn played One, and Limp Bizkit performed Welcome Home Sanitarium. The Guitar Hero video game series included several of Metallica's songs. One was used in Guitar Hero 3. The album Death Magnetic was later released as purchasable, downloadable content for the game. Trapped Under Ice was featured in the sequel, Guitar Hero World Tour. In 2009, Metallica collaborated with the game's developers to make Guitar Hero, Metallica, which included a number of Metallica's songs. Harmonix's video game series Rock Band included Enter Sandman and Battery, Ride the Lightning, Blackened, and Injustice for All were released as downloadable tracks. In 2013, due to expiring content licenses, Ride the Lightning, Blackened, and Injustice for All are no longer available for download.
I will now read the list of Metallica's discography in chronological order. These are only the studio albums. Kill 'Em All, 1983. Ride the Lightning, 1984. Master of Puppets, 1986. Injustice for All, 1988. Metallica, or Black Album, 1991. Load, 1996. Reload, 1997. Saint Anger, 2003. Death Magnetic, 2008. The last studio album to date is Hardwired to Self-Destruct, 2016. We hope to see the S&M number 2 soon. Awards and nominations are: 1990, Best Metal Performance, for the song One. 1991, Best Metal Performance, for the song Stone Cold Crazy. 1992, Best Metal Performance, for the album Metallica, or Black Album. 1999, Best Metal Performance, for the song Better Than You. 2000, Best Hard Rock Performance, for the song Whiskey in the Jar. 2001, Best Rock Instrumental Performance, for the performance of the song A Call of Cthulhu, with Michael Kamen and the San Francisco Symphony. 2004, Best Metal Performance, for the song Saint Anger. 2009, Best Metal Performance, for the song My Apocalypse. 2009, Best Recording Package, for the album Death Magnetic.
We hope you enjoyed this reading of the Metallica's Wikipedia page. This was part number 2, you can see part number 1 by following the link in the video description.
Please help us grow our channel by subscribing and joining our Patreon. Hit the like button if you liked the video and leave us your wiki page reading request in the comments. Thank you for watching, see you in part number 2.